I'm Dr. Abha Nagral, hepatologist and liver transplant physician at Apollo and Jaslok Hospitals, Mumbai. We have the pleasure of having Dr. Prabhleen Chahal with us. Welcome. She is the head of the Advanced Endoscopy Center at Cleveland Clinic, USA, and also the chair of the ASGE Women's Wing. Welcome again.
Thank you, Abha. Glad to be here.
So, Prabhleen, I think I would like to start off by asking you that, when we are in medical school, I think, at least in India, the number of males to females is almost equal, and now I think of late the trend is more women entering medical school. But as one goes down, or goes up rather, into specialties and super specialties, we see that the number of women kind of become much lesser. And I think especially in gastroenterology and more so endoscopy, it's a very stark difference. So what is the international scene, especially in the US? How is it?
I think, Abha, globally also the statistics then mirror what we see in India. The medical school, we see 70% women going into the medical school in the United States, 30% are men. But as you move on, there is an attrition. And if you talk just specifically about gastroenterologists, there are only 18 to 20% practicing gastroenterologists who are women in US. And when you talk about subspecialties like advanced endoscopy, the number goes even further down. And when I did my advanced training almost 12, 13 years ago, I was among the first few women to be able to do that and go through that program. And since I run this training program at Cleveland Clinic, we see the number of applicants that come through our institution. On an average, it's about 1 in 10 women. So majority are still men. So globally, I think, including United States, numbers are still the same. Are we making strides? Yes, I think the pendulum is swinging a little bit in the direction. Within past 3 to 4 years, instead of just 1 female applicant out of 100, I would see 2 to 3 now. So numbers are improving, but it's a slow change.
So before we go on to other challenges, can you tell us a little bit about your journey reaching up there, especially in endoscopy?
There's no substitute for hard work. I think no matter which area that you go to, the hard work is the most important ingredient. But a lot of it also depends upon serendipity and luck on top of that. It just being at the right place at the right time. You have put in your hard work, but then if you're working with mentors who are able to give you excellent research projects, who are able to give you directions and support, that show you the way on how to get there. You also have to have a vision and goal. I'm also, considered a foreign medical graduate. When I did my medical school here, went to the US, I took my US MLEs, went to the usual path that we see young individuals doing that now. I think the key is make sure you do your best. Once you have your academics under your belt, you've got your good scores, you have to work on your research portfolio. And then you have to, some of the things skills that you acquire are just from experience that are not taught to you in medical school. Skills of emotional intelligence, skills of building up your CV, research portfolio, skills of networking. So that's something that you learn as you go through the process. But eventually, I think once you are at an institution, you look at the resources available to you. Make use of those resources. I took several classes. I learned a new language. I learned Spanish. I took a course for statistics. I did a full certificate course, 12 credits, just so that I'm able to do my own statistics for my own research papers. And during my fellowship, I almost finished 20 research projects and wrote 20 papers. So again, I think the key is hard work, diligence, and then I think the doors open up for you.
Yes, so hard work many people do, but I guess, as you said, getting the opportunities, the right mentors, and your research, I think that must have definitely played a role. So you always wanted to do endoscopy, or it just kind of evolved into endoscopy?
I think that's where the serendipity happened to me.
Yeah.
So when I joined gastroenterology, all of us, we get attracted towards the intellectual aspect of hepatology. I wanted to be a transplant hepatologist. But when I did my first rotation in transplant hepatology, one of the questions that I asked was, we see patients getting liver transplants, and then the type of anastomosis they do is choledochojejunectomy.
Right.
And then they come back with the pancreatic duct stenosis, they have choledochojejunal strictures. And the question that popped up in my mind was, what is the role of endoscopy in those patients? And that research project got me to connect with my mentor, Dr. Todd Barron. And then, we started with the endoscopy project. We scoped together, and then he said, well, this is something you should seriously consider. And he and Dr. Liz Rajan, another advanced endoscopist at Mayo Clinic, they persuaded me to pursue this field. So that was not my first
So that's
goal.
interesting, transplant leading you to endoscopy.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's very interesting. So do you think there are any barriers? I mean, you said it's hard work, it's good research, good mentors, but do you think there are any barriers for women especially in gastroenterology in general? How do patients and your colleagues perceive you being a woman as far as practicing gastroenterology or even therapeutic endoscopy is concerned?
I think there is no doubt there are barriers. I think the journey of a women physician, whether you are a subspecialist or not, it's a little different than the men have to go through. And then the barriers women face, they start very early in life. There are biases, there is implicit bias, there may be some microaggressions person has to face. You do face some discrimination. So the availability of resources that are there for you, the cultural expectations, the cultural stereotypes. Most of the societies like India, we are patriarchal societies. Institutional policies are really not conducive for women.
Is it in the US as well?
That's correct. I think, for example, when you're going through the subspecialty, you're also at the age where people are looking to get married, people are looking to have children. You are in your late 20s, early 30s. And now you're looking at what is the institution policy for maternity leave. Even though the ACG may say you can take up to 12 weeks, but in reality it ends up being 6 weeks. So, I mean, those are the challenges that you have to face. Again, the resources that are available to you. What about the patient expectations? How do patients perceive you, and especially in the field of advanced endoscopy? Early on, I think when you are a young graduate, yes, there is a difference. For example, if a young female advanced endoscopist walks in the room, and then a male endoscopist walks in the room, I think the perceptions may be a little bit different sometimes, not always. But I think as the time goes along, it becomes less of an issue. And I don't get asked if I've done this before. I used to get that question quite frequently. I walk in the room and I get questioned, have I done this before? So, but anyway, I think as you go along with the experience, those questions become less. So yes, there are barriers, but I think things are slowly moving in the positive direction.
As far as endoscopy is concerned, do you think there are any challenges for a female endoscopist vis-a-vis a male endoscopist in terms of the equipment and handling it, etc.?
I think, I'm glad you asked that question, Abha. I think industry and the gastroenterologists in general, they are realizing that female endoscopists are different than male endoscopists. I think, generally female endoscopists, they have smaller hands, and the equipments that were manufactured, they were historically meant to be for a male endoscopist. So there is data which shows ergonomic issues and problems, musculoskeletal injuries, neck problems, back problems, hand problems, because of the ergonomics, poor ergonomics that is involved with this job. But I think heartening thing is industry is realizing that, so there's a little bit more collaboration between industry and women. They are seeking more input when they're coming up with the new devices and equipment on what's the feedback from the women group. And especially in advanced endoscopy, I think another issue that we face why One of the reasons why there are fewer women in advanced endoscopy is exposure to the fluoroscopy, correct. And again, you're in the childbearing age, and most women, they shy away from pursuing this field because you are exposed to radiation during your training and for rest of your life. So another reason where therapeutic endoscopy, women are less in number. But again, with improvement in technology, I think we have started the dialogue. It's just dialogue at a time, a person at a time, an article at a time. Eventually change is happening slowly but surely.
Sure, so the sensitization has begun. So I think that's,
Yes.
that's a step forward. So I think we need to wind up, but before that, I just want to take the last word from you. What do you think is the future of women in gastroenterology and especially endoscopy?
I would like to say, Abha, the future is bright. I think especially 2019, it has been a year where there was a lot of talk, a lot of evidence, activities working towards gender equality. For example, Lancet had a themed issue featuring gender equality, promoting women in medicine. Several societies and organizations, especially in America, American Society of GI Endoscopy Executive Leadership, they started the women's group, and I'm honored to be chair for that. ACG, American College of Gastroenterology, they started the diversity social media campaign. And then again, all these changes are happening which are positive. People are getting more tuned in finding a mentorship, coaching, giving leadership opportunity to women. We see more women on the panels, we see more women on the national societies and stages. Progress is there, but we need to continue to make strides. But the future looks bright.
Okay, with that positive final words from Prabhleen, I think we'll end there. Thank you very much.
Thank
It
you,
was a
Abha.
pleasure having you.
Likewise.
Yes, thanks.